What's up, everybody? Welcome to Human Innovation Tarot. My name is Eddie with Imagine Life Development Center, and this is the follow-up video to the February newsletter that I posted. So basically, what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm just going to be pulling on the theme for February. So essentially, this is what you guys can expect, messages from the divine, and basically what we can do to start making progress in the month of February. Okay. So before I jump into it, I just want to do a quick recap. If you haven't seen the part 1 or the February newsletter, I highly recommend going back and checking out that video. There's 2 other videos that you're going to check out as well. And of course, I'm going to keep repeating this until about June or July, but there's a 2-part video called The Universal Year 9, because we are in a universal year of 9 in terms of numerology. It's a 2-part video. So if you haven't seen that, Universal Year 9, part 1 and part 2, that will be the most important video that I upload between now and about June or July. Another video that you're probably going to want to check out is, I believe it's called, let me double check on this, How to Manifest Anything. It's also a 2-part video. Let me make sure that's the name really quick. Yeah, Manifest Anything part 1 and part 2. So that video, especially the part 2, I talk about what we need to do to balance our energy collectively to get into the vibrational frequency of the things that we're wanting to manifest here. So hopefully, if you're not new to my channel, if you've been around for a hot minute, then you guys know what I'm all about here. I'm all about us being, owning our power, basically being the magician, and learning how to create and or to co-create rather our reality with the divine, as opposed to just riding the tarot carousel, so to speak, bouncing around to the different tarot readers online that are just making energetic predictions about a future that may or may not happen, because it's our job to create that future. It's our job to work with the divine to make that future a possibility. So if you feel like moving into February, February is essentially, we're beginning to actually move into 2025's energy. January was like the very last remnants of 2024. So all of January was still technically 2024 energy. Well, now that we've officially kind of closed out and ended the 2024 energy, we're starting to move into 2025. Now, we won't be in it completely until about March. So February is really just kind of like a segue, a bridge, if you will, the bridge between 24 and 25. So as we start to officially move into the energy of 2025, where are you in your life? What do you want? What do you desire? What's working? What's not working? How far have you come? How much have you grown? What are you, what do you desire? What do you crave? What do you want? What do you need? What hasn't been working? Where have you felt stuck? What would you like to be different in your life, right? Part of personal growth and spiritual development is sitting with ourselves long enough to really get clear about where we are and telling ourselves the truth, instead of trying to escape, distract ourselves, or just getting caught up in the mundane cycle of just, okay, we get up, we do the same thing, we go to work, we come home, we eat. Everything's kind of like a routine, a repetitive, like life is on autopilot, right? And then days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and then months turn into years. And it's like one day you're going to wake up and you're going to go, my life really doesn't feel very fulfilling. I'm not really happy. Things aren't really changing. I'm not really progressing. Whatever that may feel like or look like for you. Now, if you're completely happy and you're completely fulfilled, that's awesome. That's great. But if you're not, nothing changes until we change. And so part of change is getting clear and getting honest about where we are and getting out of denial and kind of like interrupting the pattern of mediocrity and interrupting the pattern of being on autopilot long enough to actually sit and go, okay, where am I? And is this what I want? Is the life that I'm living, the experiences that I'm having, is this actually what I desire? Is it actually what I want? And if it's not, then what would it look like to investigate that, to explore that, and to sit with that and to determine and figure out, well, if I'm not having the experience or the life that I desire, then what do I need to do? What do I need to change? And so these are the types of questions that we should be asking ourselves if we're not experiencing the type of life that we desire. And then what would we need to do to make those shifts and make those changes? So in the first video, the February newsletter, which I guess, it's just called part 1, I guess. I had to break it into 2 parts because, it would have been too long to do a reading on top of the other things that I was doing. So, if you haven't watched that, then it would be beneficial to go and watch the first part 1, because those are messages from the divine about things that we could be doing to answer those questions. And so just as a quick summary, I talked about making decisions. What does it mean to make a true decision in life? Not just, an inconsistent, one day we think this, one day we think that, one day we want this, the next day we want that. It's not changing our mind. A true decision is something that when we make a decision, it's like drawing a line in the sand. We move forward on that decision and we never look back. The second thing I talk about is alchemy. And alchemy is just simply the art of transforming the difficult situations in our life into something empowering, right? Which unfortunately, very few people know how to do. Most people, they have a bad experience and then they allow that bad experience to they identify with that bad experience, or they allow that bad experience to shape their character. And so now that bad experience is the thing that's influenced them, instead of them taking that bad experience and saying, hey, I know that this sucked. I know that this hurt, but I'm going to transform this thing into a superpower. I'm going to transform this thing into something that I can, utilize for my benefit, something that can grow. I can grow from, I can expand, I can utilize it, I can implement it, either for myself or for others, right? And then the third thing that I talked about was the art of spiritual uncertainty, meaning when we choose a life connected to the divine, there is always an element of faith that's required, okay? We're never going to, very rarely are we going to be handed the future and all the steps and, the blueprint of exactly how things are going to be. And sometimes we don't know what the next step is. Sometimes we don't know what the plan is going to be. It's a process of evolution. It's a process of faith, just doing the next thing. And once we do the next thing that we need to know is revealed to us. That seems to be my experience, at least. So those are the 3 things that I talked about in part 1. So again, just really quick before I get into the reading here, evaluate where you are. I'm filming this video on February the 1st, 2025. So where are you? February the 1st, 2025. Are you happy with your life? Are you unhappy with your life? Or are you just kind of like blah? Like you're kind of in no man's land. It's not good and it's not really bad. It's just kind of, lukewarm. You're just kind of living a mediocre, mundane experience. It's not terrible, but it's not really great either. Right? What are you longing for? What are you desiring? What do you want? You know, why do you come to YouTube and watch tarot readings? What are you after? What are you craving? If you could lay hold of something, if you could create something, if you could get something, if you could acquire something, what would that be? You know, in your opinion, according to your beliefs and your life and what you desire, what would make 2025 an amazing year for you? What would move the needle for you? What would feel like or look like progress for you in your life? Forget everybody else. Forget, you know, your friends or family, your career, your job, your work, your children, whatever, the expectations of other people. What would it be like for you in a good, selfish kind of way, right? Forgetting about the rest of the world. What would it look like for you to have a fulfilling year moving forward, or just a fulfilling February, right? And so the more clear that we can get about what we want, then we can begin to set our focus there, and we can partner with the divine and start to take however many steps, big or small, in that direction, and watch the magic happen, essentially. Okay. But until we've sat with ourselves long enough to become consciously aware of that, then we're just kind of like, you know, we're distracted. We're absent-minded. It's kind of like you might be listening to me right now and you're hearing what I'm saying. You hear the sound of my voice coming through your ears, but are you actually processing it? Is it something meaningful? Or are you just, you know, doing something else and you're listening to me at the same time? You're doing laundry, or you're busy, or you're distracting yourself. Like, you know, I just like to listen to things while I'm doing. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying nothing changes until we change. So for those of you that truly, truly, truly want change, you want a different quality and experience of life, then action and energy and effort and intention and focus is required. We have to do our part. And the divine will always, always, always do its part. Okay? So I have no idea where this is going to go. I'm just going to let the divine, you know, kind of give us, you know, whatever messages that want to come through. So here we go. What does the collective need to know? So already I can tell you that this is fascinating because you can't make this shit up. Literally everything that I just said is kind of being confirmed right now. One more card, please. There we go. I mean, technically we could stop the reading just with these three cards. That's how profound and powerful just these three cards alone are. Obviously, we're not going to, but let's start here. The end of a tough cycle approaches. Now, this is going to be for a specific group of people. And I talked about this in the video that I mentioned that I said would be the most important video that I will basically that I've uploaded to my channel between now and about June or July, which is the Universal Year 9, Part 1 and Part 2. I talk about this very thing. And in that video, I talk about how this year basically is either going to be the best year of some people's lives in 2025. That's going to be about half of the collective. This is going to be the best year of your life. So, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, maybe 50 years down the road, however long you live, you'll look way back on 2025. And 2025, you'll always remember, was one of the best years, if not the best year of your entire life. 2025 was the year that it all changed. That's going to be for probably about half of you, depending. Now, the other half of you, 2025 could potentially be the worst year of your life. And you'll look back and you'll say, man, 2025 was the absolute worst year of my entire life. That was the year that it all changed. But not for a good, not, not because of something good, but because of something bad. So for those of you that are on the positive side, you're in the positive group of people, then this is the end of a tough cycle for you guys. So, that's awesome. The next card we have is the answers you need are coming. So for those of you that, again, you're not here just listening to me. You're not just here, it's not just another YouTube channel with another tarot reader that's just doing, shuffling some cards and predicting whatever the thing is, love, career, whatever the thing is that you're desiring. And, I'm not here to bash those, I watch some of those readers still every once in a while, but if it's not changing your life, if it's not empowering you, if nothing's changing as a result of just binge listening to tarot readers predicting things that may or may not be happening in your life, I'm assuming probably not happening in your life, because if you're still listening to tarot readers, then I'm assuming that, you're still waiting for that thing to happen, whether it's a person, whether it's love, whether it's money, whether it's career, what have you. And in my experience, that's where most people camp out. Most people are waiting, because if you had the thing, or if you were busy with the thing, whatever that thing is, you wouldn't be watching tarot readings anymore. You'd be too busy enjoying your life, too busy enjoying that relationship, in love with that person, busy with that career, with that opportunity, whatever that thing is, right? You wouldn't be binge listening to tarot readings to find out if and when maybe, that's going to happen. So that's not what this channel was about. So this channel is about, to the best of my ability, obviously all I can do is try to encourage you all and influence you all to get out of that mindset, that powerless mentality, and try to encourage you all to put yourselves in the driver's seat of your life. That's why I always talk about being a powerful person. You all being the magician. That's you being in the driver's seat of your life. It's you partnering with the divine to create and co-create the reality that you desire, and you don't have to wait around. You can just get busy doing the thing and then, manifesting the thing, creating the thing, and having the thing, and then enjoying the thing. And you don't have to spend your time out here on YouTube land watching tarot readings. I mean, unless, you just like it, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with, it's just like, if somebody likes to watch sports or somebody likes to watch a certain type of TV show, there's nothing wrong with people like, it's like, hey, I just like to listen to tarot because it's just a passion that I have. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But assuming that you're not just here listening because that's your hobby and that's what you like, wouldn't life be better if you had the thing, if you were enjoying the thing, if you were living out the thing, fill in the blank, right? I assume so. So for those of you that are taking this stuff seriously, you're taking your personal development serious, your spiritual growth seriously, then the answers are coming. And this goes back to the part 1 video, the February newsletter part 1, because again, this ties into the spiritual uncertainty. Sometimes we're waiting and we feel like, well, I don't know what to do. Maybe you have a call on your life, right? But you don't feel confident. You don't know what to do next. And I can relate because I've was in the same place. And what I've learned as a result of being in the land of uncertainty is that that's just how it is sometimes. And the next thing doesn't always reveal itself until you're doing the thing that's right in front of you. It's like, just focus on whatever step you can take. So let's say, for example, you're like, well, I've always wanted to write a book. Well, then do the first thing that you can do. Just start writing. Don't worry about, all the other things. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to name the book. Fine, that's great. You don't have to know. Like, I don't know all the chapters. You don't have to know all the chapters. Like, when I started writing my first book, all I did was it just started brain dumping. Like, I had all this knowledge that I had learned about relationships. And so I just was like, all right, just pick a topic, Eddie. It doesn't matter what topic. Just pick any topic, because you're going to write about all of them anyway. So it doesn't matter. Just pick one. Just start somewhere. So I'm like, okay, we're going to start with this topic. And then I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote until I felt like I had nothing more to say about that topic. Okay, go to the next topic. Write until I felt like I had nothing else to say about that topic. And then I just kept doing that until I had a bunch of pages for each topic. And then when I was finished with all the topics, then I started to look at them and, I started the process of like, well, what's relevant, what's not relevant? Do I want to, does this really need to be in the book? Does it not to be in the book? I started making different decisions, and then I started to organize that information. Like, okay. And then I started to see the image or the vision or the framework of the book. And, the more I just kept going, the more that the clarity of what it was I was trying to accomplish solidified. So, but it was incremental steps. I didn't see the whole thing. It wasn't just like, okay, I know exactly what this is going to be. It was an evolution. It was a process, right? So whatever that is for you, maybe you feel called to start a business, some other creative endeavor, or change jobs, or whatever you feel called to do in your life. You're like, well, I don't even know what I feel called to do. Okay, well then maybe it's just you getting curious about, well, maybe there's a part of me that I haven't explored. Maybe I'm not doing enough personal development, spiritual growth. Maybe I just need to start spending more time on myself and, seek out either courses or mentors or coaches and people who've gone through this process, people that are good at leading and mentoring people through a guided process of learning and discovering who they are and what their mission and purpose in life is and all of that, right? The bottom line is the answers come regardless of who you are and where you are. If you're taking your call and your destiny serious, the divine will reward you because the divine knows that you're taking it serious. But if you're not taking it serious, then the divine's like, because we can't lie to the divine. The divine knows if we're full of shit and if we're not. But if you're taking your call in life serious, the divine will send you answers. Now, you're not going to get all the answers because it's pointless. All you need to know is the next thing that's going to propel you forward. You only need to know one step at a time. And if the divine feels like you're capable of handling more steps, and it's necessary for you to have to understand and see more steps, if you need to know 1 step, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, then of course the divine will provide you with those steps. But in my experience, most of the time, like 99% of the time, 98% of the time, you just get handed 1 step at a time. Like, here's the next step. And if you're responsible with this next step, then I'll give you the step after that. But the answers will come as long as you're taking it serious, okay? And that's only for those of you that are actually taking it serious. Not for those of you that are just idly listening and you're just like, well, whatever, and then, as soon as this video is over, 20 seconds later, you're going to forget everything that I said. And you're like, oh, I don't even remember what the hell he was talking about, No judgment, I'm just saying. So, a time to give rather than take. So this is just referring to, again, those of you who have a call on your life. It's saying our purpose, our destiny in life is, part of it is for us and part of it is for the collective. And so if you feel stuck or you feel like life isn't evolving, progressing, or things aren't moving, it could be for no other reason than you've just been focused on yourself a little too much. Because the secret to life is contribution. Now, I did a video on my channel. It's called the 6 Human Needs Presentation. You can go watch that video. And I talk about how we all, as humans, we all have 6 needs that we must meet. They're not wants, they're not desires, they're needs, right? And the last 2 needs of the 6 needs are growth and contribution. And those are called spiritual needs. The first 4 needs are the needs of our survival needs. Certainty, uncertainty, significance, and connection. The last 2 are growth and contribution, and those last 2 are spiritual needs. They're the game changers. So when we're focused on contribution, which is serving a purpose, serving something greater than ourselves, giving to something beyond ourselves, then we understand one of the spiritual reasons of why we're here. Why we all incarnated here. Because we've all incarnated to experience things for ourselves, but we also all incarnated to serve and benefit the collective as a whole. And so when we're not doing that, then a part of our life inevitably suffers, okay? Now, at the bottom of the deck, we have believe in the impossible. So this is for those of you who have been struggling to really believe that the vision, the desire, the thing inside of you can actually occur. But I can assure you that if you have a desire, you have a vision, you have something that you've been able to imagine. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's great or small. Like, for example, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, if I thought I would have ever written a book, I would have said, no, I don't, that's impossible. Right? And so now I'm an author, I'm a published author. I've created something. I created a book. Now, hundreds and thousands and millions of people write books. Does that make me special? No, it doesn't make me special if I'm comparing myself to, people who've created books. But what it has done is I proved to myself that I had the ability to do something that I didn't think I had the ability to do, which gave me confidence. It boosted my confidence. And it helped me believe in a part of me that I wasn't believing in. It helped me embrace a part of me that I wasn't embracing. It helped me connect to the divine in a way that I wasn't connected. And it helped me realize that actually I do have something to contribute, to give beyond myself, something that the collective needs. And so while, sure, it's nothing special that I wrote a book, a big whoop-de-doo. That's not what it was about. It wasn't about, that it was special to just be another person that wrote a book. What was special was the fact that I did something that I thought was impossible for me. And maybe you feel similar. Maybe there's something, whether it's big or small. Forget the comparisons, because when you start comparing yourself, you comparing your calling to somebody else, comparing what you think is possible, you're just cock-blocking yourself. Because it's not about that. It's not about you comparing whether somebody else has done it, whether somebody else is smarter or wiser. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're, again, I'll just use a generic example. It doesn't matter if you're writing a book about something that, millions of other authors have written about. An oversaturated topic or market. It doesn't matter, because nobody is going to say it the way that you say it. No one's going to write about it the way that you write about it. No one's going to bring the experiences that you've had with that topic the way that you're going to bring them. So you're bringing a perspective that nobody else has. And sometimes when you hear the same thing from a different point of view or explained from a different point of view, it makes all the difference in the world. Because there's an audience out there for everybody. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're a nurse, you have an audience. There's going to be sick people that you're here to heal. If you're a speaker, if you're a writer, if you're a musician, if you're an artist, if you're a business owner, it doesn't matter. wherever you were positioned in the grand scheme of life and what you have to offer and what you have to contribute, you have an audience. People are going to need whatever it is that you have. If you're a baker, right? It doesn't matter. If you're a dog groomer, if you're a barber, if you're a hairstylist, it doesn't matter. If you're a therapist, if you're a police officer, if you're a firefighter, you're going to have an audience of people that need what you have. It's impossible. It's impossible for you to not have people that are going to not need what you have. We all have an audience, so to speak. Because the very fact that you're alive and you exist in this world means that you're needed. In other words, the divine, long before you came out of your mother's womb, unless you're an alien and you didn't come out of a mother's womb, but assuming you came out of a female, you came out of your mother's womb, which I'm assuming all of you did, the divine accounted for your life. The divine knew that you were going to be here. The divine knew that you're going to be born at this time. This is how many years you're going to be alive. This is what you're here to do. This is what you're here to accomplish. The divine accounted for each and every one of us, which means that the divine created a need that only we could fulfill, whether it's large or small. Doesn't matter. So whether your need is for 5 people or 5 million people, it doesn't matter, because the divine doesn't look at it the way that our human ego does. Big, small, great, large, like important versus not important. The divine doesn't view it that way. We view it that way. We're the ones who make comparisons about things and judge things as good or worthy or not worthy, better or not better, right? We're the ones who make those comparisons. So part of spiritual development is getting out of that mindset, that limited way of thinking, and just going, hey, whatever I'm here to do and whoever I'm here to serve, whoever my audience is, so to speak, my responsibility is to just show up. That's it. Just like me. I don't know how many people are going to see these. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, let's just take a look at my, for shits and giggles, since we're here, let's just take a quick peek. As of January, what am I talking about? As of February 1st, 2025, I'm looking at my channel right now. It says I have 283 subscribers. Well, compared to like what? 283 subscribers on YouTube. That's nothing. I'm a nobody on YouTube land, right? I could view it that way compared to, the other tarot readers out there that have got hundreds of thousands of subscribers and this, that, and the other, or whatever. But I'm not worried about that. I'm just here doing my part. I'm not focused on who sees this video. If nobody sees this video, maybe nobody sees it. Nobody watches it. That's fine. But what I know is that I did my part. I fulfilled my call. I fulfilled my destiny. And I'm not comparing myself to others. I'm just doing the thing inside of me that I've been called to do. And anything after that is out of my control, out of my hands. How many people see it, how good my channel does or doesn't do, what people do with the information that I provide them, whether they take it and run with it, whether they apply it or they don't, it's out of my control. But I have to stay committed and consistent with who I am, because that's a decision and a choice that I've made between me, myself, and the divine. And so the more that I continue down that path in all areas of my life, the things that I thought were impossible, like, writing my own book, starting a YouTube channel, and just things that maybe for other people aren't a big deal, but for me, they were a big deal. Because those other people haven't lived my story. They're not walking in my shoes, just like nobody's walking in your shoes. So don't limit yourself and don't dog yourself because you're comparing yourself to the greatest of the greats of those who out there, when, they struggled to get to where they've got, just like you and I are. Your journey is your journey. That was their journey. Don't focus on other people's journey. And I'm not saying don't learn from people where you can, right? It's good to hear somebody else's story every once in a while. Oh man, that's what they had to go through to get from there to there to there to get to there. And this is what they had to do. Sometimes that's encouraging. Sometimes it's encouraging to hear a good story about how somebody pushed through adversity and, did the thing that they weren't sure that maybe they could do. But if we're distracted, or if somebody else's story or anything outside of us, this starts to disempower us or pull us out off our path or dissuade us or discourage us from doing the thing that's inside of our soul that wants to be expressed, then I would say, we need to tone all that out, tune all that out. Right? We need to just we need to completely tune all the noise out. Doesn't matter who it is. And there needs to be a boundary there. And sometimes that boundary needs to be there with friends and families and coworkers and other people too. Just saying like, hey, this is something that's kind of sacred and sensitive for me right now. And so I'm just kind of like, until I work through this, until I achieve it, until I accomplish it, this is just something that's kind of sacred to me, and you don't have to share it. You don't have to let other people in on it. This is just a thing between you and you. But this believe in the impossible, again, is for whoever of you out there. It doesn't matter, big or small, whether you have extraordinary, massive dreams or whether you just have something that feels simple. I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to quit my addiction, to cigarettes, or I want to stop drinking. I want to quit caffeine. That's mine. I'm not lying. I was caffeine free for 5 days, and then I got really tired and I went. And so now, I drank caffeine for 4 days. So now I'm having to start over again. So it's okay. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But whatever that thing is for you that you feel is impossible, whether it's quitting something or whether it's creating something, it doesn't matter. The divine is saying you can do it. But a more empowering way to do it is to do it with the divine. Partner with the divine. The divine will assist you in accomplishing whatever that thing is. But whatever that thing is, again, great or small, is the divine is saying, do not give up on it. Don't give up on it. And don't suppress it. And don't put it off for years and years and years and years and years. Chip away at it. It doesn't matter if it's 10 years in the making. I'll give you an example with my book. So the first draft of my book, it took me about 4 years to write the first, what I thought was going to be my book. And I got about halfway finished with the first blueprint, the first, what I thought was going to be my book. But in those 5 years, I had grown so much and I had learned so much that when I started to go back through what I had written, I was like, this is not the book. Like, this stuff is not going to help anybody. And so I scrapped the whole thing. And I shit you not, I deleted all of it. And I started over from scratch. I was like, I've learned so much in the last 5 years. I think it would be just more beneficial if I just start all over. That's what I did. And so I started all the way over. And then what had taken me 5 years to write 50%, I wrote an entire book in about 1 year. And I could have done it quicker, but I was inconsistent. I procrastinated. Other things got in the way, whatever. But it doesn't matter because, I'm not comparing myself to anybody else. It wasn't a sprint or a marathon or a race or a competition. And so the final product, what I have written and what I have now, I'm very pleased with. There's nothing about it that I would really change. And I know that the product that I've created has the power, definitely. It's timeless information that could help anybody at any time with their romantic relationships. And so I'm very proud that I created something that an older version of me would have thought was impossible, right? And so whatever that looks like for you, and again, it could be changes in your health, changes in your body, changes, creating something, changes in a business, starting a business, whatever that thing that the divine has put on your heart, whatever that thing that's inside of your soul that wants to come to life. Now's not the time to stop believing in it. Now's the time to start chipping away at it. Whatever you can do, whatever you can contribute, whatever you can give. And you're like, well, but I need money to start this thing. Okay. Well, how much money can you invest? How much money can you put aside? Who can you talk to? How can you get creative about maybe finding investors, finding people that would be willing to maybe, support you in a way and saying, hey, like, would you loan me X amount of money? Or if I raise this amount of money, would you be willing to match it? And then I'll pay you back for whatever you match it. Like, there's all sorts of ways to make things happen, especially when you invite the divine into that process to give you ideas about whatever you need. And if it's other things, it's like, man, I really just want to get out of debt. Maybe the last 4 years with inflation and COVID and all the things, maybe you plunged into an astronomical amount of debt and you're like, man, I would feel like I wouldn't even know what to do with myself if I was able to be debt free or even close to debt free. Right? And sometimes we ignore things. Sometimes we ignore things that feel insurmountable. It's like, man, that thing is so difficult. It's so unbearable. I don't even want to look at it. So we avoid it. And so the divine's like, you don't have to avoid it. You don't have to be afraid of it because I will help you. And when you're willing to take those steps with the divine will present opportunities and sometimes even miracles of things that you couldn't possibly know. It's like, man, I didn't know this was possible. I didn't know that I could do that. I didn't know that there was a law for this. I didn't know that there was a service for that. You just don't know what's possible when you're walking with the divine because the divine is saying nothing's impossible. All you're doing is you're giving yourself more opportunities. You're empowering yourself. You're giving yourself more options, more benefits, more features. And it's all free because it's the divine. You don't owe the divine anything. It's just, it's just taking the divine serious, right? And I'm not saying that the divine is like a sugar daddy because the divine is you and you are the divine. You're already that force. That force is inside of you. So really all you're doing is you're just learning how to access that superpower, the infinite intelligence, the infinite knowledge, the infinite wisdom inside of you. That's really what it's about. And since that power is always working for our highest good, of course it doesn't want you to be in debt. Of course it doesn't want you to be single and lonely. Of course it doesn't want you to be hurt or unhealthy or you fill in the blank, right? The divine wants you to prosper. The divine wants you to be abundant. The divine wants you to be healthy. The divine wants you to experience love. The divine wants you to fulfill the longings of the desires that are in your heart and in your soul. And when you're connected to the divine, it all makes sense. So whatever is felt impossible for you guys, it's time to stop believing that it's impossible and to just embrace the tiniest, I guess, mustard seeds of faith, if you will, the tiniest deposits of whatever you have within you for where you are in your spiritual development. It's like, just apply that to whatever that thing is that seems impossible. And the divine will honor the fact that, for who I am and where I'm, just like for myself right now, as an example, the vision that I have, like if I was to live my dream, is to have a brick and mortar life development center, maybe multiple, maybe many. I know what I see in my mind. I can see it. But the me that I am right here, right now, is not that guy yet. I know that. I'm not going to pretend that I am. I know that I'm not. But I'm becoming him every day. And so I'm allowing the divine to shape me and mold me and move me and progress me towards the guy that I see doing those things, who has those things. So I'm just, again, I'm showing up and I'm depositing everything that I have to give for where I'm at right now. That's me honoring the divine, and I'm allowing the divine to take what I'm depositing and multiply it, so to speak. And that multiplication is essentially the multiplication of me in a metaphorical type of way. And so the same goes for all of you out there. The more that all you have to do is just apply yourself, trust the divine, and the divine will multiply you. It will expand you. And as you expand and as you grow and as you go to the next level, everything else will go to the next level as well. And eventually that thing, whatever that thing is that you thought was impossible, will become very possible. And then you'll keep growing and growing and growing and growing. And then one day you're going to look way back and you're going to go, man, that's so crazy that I thought all those years ago that one thing was impossible. Whether it was writing a book or whether it was getting a relationship or whether it was getting debt free, you'll look back at that and you'll just kind of laugh. You'll be like, that's so crazy. Like, I thought, all those years ago, my big problem, my impossible, the mountain that I thought I would never be able to climb, that thing I never thought I'd be able to conquer, that thing that was standing in my way, wasn't standing in my way anymore. And now that I look back at it, I go, man, it's just so funny because now in hindsight, based on who I've become all these years later, who I've grown up to be in my spiritual growth, I look back at that and I go, man, that's so crazy. Like, it's almost laughable, right? One day we're going to look back and we're going to laugh at the mountains that we thought were impossible for us to conquer. One day all of us will. And that's exciting, right? That's part of the spiritual journey, the benefit of the spiritual journey. I could just go on for hours and hours and hours just on these 4 cards. So let's get some other messages here. And it's not about the number of the cards. It's just about the message that the divine wants to say for those who have ears to hear. Just like Jesus said in the Bible, he or she who has ears to hear, let them hear. And that's an intentional statement. It's an intentional statement by Jesus, and Jesus was known for being very confusing with his parables and his metaphors and all these things. And the reason was because he knew that not everybody who followed him was there for necessarily the right reasons. Like, Jesus knew how to hide information, important information, that only those who were super, super, super hungry, sold out, desperate, those who were really like tuned in, he knew that they would get it. He knew that the average people that, they weren't there. They weren't there for that. They were just kind of like following him around because maybe he was like, hey, this guy's like a magician, he puts on a magic show. He does these miracles. And so these people would, following him around because they wanted to see him do a miracle. And he's like, I'm not here to entertain you. That's not what I'm here for. And so he did a really good job learning how to filter out the people, learning how to filter out the people that were there for the right reasons versus the people that weren't. Because he knew the people who had spiritual intelligence or spiritual EQ, he knew that they would get what he was trying to say because they were invested. So, similarly, the messages that are here, it's not so much about the quantity of the message. It's are we getting the message from the divine for whatever that message is? Whether it's one thing, two things, three things, four things, five things, right? Whatever it is, it's taking the things that resonate, but not just passively listening to it. It's actually taking it and saying, okay, what can I do with this now that I have it? Because information alone does not equal transformation, right? So we have focus here. We have this the serpent, and we have the butterfly. This is a brand new deck that I literally just got. I just took it out of the package, so it's just fresh out of the store. So focus we talk about a lot on this channel. I talk about it all the time. What are you focused on? And I have a slide for it actually that I use. I didn't pull it up, so I'm not going to pull it up now because it'll interrupt the feed. But are you focused on what you do have or what you don't have? Are you focused on the problem, or are you focused on the solution? Are you focused on the external world where you're distracted, or are you focused on the internal world where you have your power? Are you focused on being a powerful person, or are you focused on being a powerless person? Are you focused on are you focused on what you do have or what you don't have, right? On and on I could go. So where our focus goes, our energy follows. So the next card we have is the serpent, and this talks about knowledge and healing. So that goes hand in hand with everything that I literally just said. Information alone doesn't equal transformation. Knowledge in 2025 is a dime a dozen. I mean, we have AI, we have Google, we have, these little devices. We have these little devices attached to us 24/7. We can just pull up our phones and we can search anything and get an answer instantaneously. I mean, we have free knowledge, free information. You can get online, you can download free books. I mean, YouTube, a source of, thousands of channels, millions of channels of people sharing their knowledge, their information for free. So information is everywhere. We live in a world of, we're oversaturated with information, but yet we're starving for wisdom. So information is plentiful, but wisdom is scarce. Because despite the fact that we have all this knowledge and this information available to us, what are we doing with it? Right? And so when something is abundant, we have a tendency to take it for granted. And so the divine is saying, hey, don't take this for granted. Just because maybe you've heard this before, or maybe you've read this somewhere before, or maybe you think, well, yeah, I already know that. Well, you don't know it if you're not living it. If you're not living it, you're not applying it, you're not doing it, it's not having a positive effect on your life, it's not empowering you, then you don't know it because you're not living it. It has to be more than just an intellectual idea or intellectual thought. Okay? Then we have the butterfly, which obviously is about transformation. The card here says beauty. And so the energy that sticks out to me with this goes back to alchemy, which I talked about in the February newsletter, the part 1. It was one of the 3 points. And alchemy is learning how to transmute or transform negative and disempowering situations and circumstances that we go through in life into something that is empowering, right? And here at the bottom of the deck, we have the Earth Fairy, which says physical health, grounding, and foundations. So yeah, it's laying the foundations for the things that we think are impossible. Obviously, we have physical health and we have healing here. So for some of you who've been struggling with health things or addiction things or anything having to do with your physical bodies, maybe that's been one of the hurdles, obstacles, and challenges you've been facing. Well, the divine is here to help you. Ask for that support. Lean into the divine. Allow the divine to assist you in overcoming whatever that challenge is for you, right? So, what else? I feel like there's a few other messages here. Let me just grab this one. And we'll close out on this because I just realized that, we're about an hour in now. So I get 3 cards here and then we'll close out the reading on these three cards. Because again, this is just the theme for February. February's energy. So yeah, we have pleasure. And I think this is really just learning how to, this pleasure energy and this beauty energy is really about learning how to love ourselves. Okay? Not blind, superficial pleasure. Okay? This isn't like, okay, I'm going to go out drinking with the buddies, or I'm going to have wine night with the girls or whatever, or I'm going to get high, or I'm going to do this thing, or I'm going to eat a bunch of, comfort food. I'm going to indulge, whatever the thing is, right? This isn't pleasure from the sense of like medicating or distracting ourselves, right? Because that's different. Like if you're just idly, like if you go out to eat or you go out to drink, or, maybe, you have a hookup buddy or something, or I don't know, maybe you like to sit around the house and, you please yourself, if you know what I mean. Like, no judgment here. Whatever your thing is, but it's not that kind of pleasure. It's not escapism is what I'm trying to say. That's not what this pleasure energy is. It's not about escaping. This pleasure energy is about learning how to love ourselves, truly love ourselves. And what I found about the concept of self-love, which very few people talk about, is true self-love, in my opinion, involves some degree of confronting some type of fear. Because the reason that we don't love ourselves is because we believe in some type of fear. There's some type of negative belief, powerless belief, limiting belief, learned helplessness. There's something that we believe that's not true. We've identified with a limitation, a fear that is not true, which is why we don't love ourselves. So when we talk about self-love, the reason that we truly don't love ourselves is because of a limiting belief that exists, a paradigm that does not allow us to love ourselves. So true self-love, in my opinion, typically, this is how you know if you're really loving yourself or not, is if it involves some degree of facing some type of fear, great or small. And if you're not having to face or confront something inside of you that is preventing you from actually loving yourself, then I question if it's self-love. Because we can all get mindless pleasure. we're overstimulated. We're in an overstimulated culture all the time with our phones, with all the distractions, all the overstimulation that's available to us 24/7. Distractions. I mean, we live in a distracted culture, if ever. Distractions are everywhere. Distraction, and so very few people have, very few people are free from distractions to even be able to sit with themselves long enough to explore anything that's going on inside of them. And the minute that they feel something happening inside of themselves, especially if it's something they don't like, they immediately go back to distracting themselves so they don't have to experience the discomfort. So this pleasure card really is really more about learning how to love yourself. And learning how to love yourself means confronting the fears that have been inhibiting you or preventing you from loving yourself. And if you're not having to confront any fears about loving yourself, then I question if it's actually self-love that you're engaged in. So just for those of you that, that resonates with. Next, we have surrender. And this goes hand in hand with the self-love, because surrender isn't even so much about battling or trying to control or change or waging war against some part of ourselves or a fear or whatever that thing is. Surrender, in this case, it's just learning how to release the resistance to whatever that thing is, whatever that force is, whatever that trauma is, whatever that person is, whatever that circumstance, experience. It's releasing the resistance to it. It's just like saying, hey, you know what? Cool, I surrender. Instead of feeling like you have to resist it or reject it or be at war with it or allow your ego to immerse you in it and all this energy and consumption, the way that we allow a thing, an experience or a situation or a circumstance to affect us and impact us and all that, right? Well, what if we just release the resistance to it? What if it's like, hey, you know what? Fine. I'm just releasing the resistance to it. I'm going to take myself, step outside of the circumstance, and I'm just going to be a neutral observer. That's it. I'm just going to be a neutral observer. That's it. And whatever emotions come through the avatar, I'm just going to be like, that's fascinating. I'm just going to observe the humanity in me occurring. And if you notice that the humanity in you gets angry, just be a neutral observer, but allow it to just be what it is. Don't resist it. Just allow it to be what it is. Allow it to express. Allow that energy to free itself. If it's sadness, if it's emotion, whatever it is, don't be in resistance to it. Because anything that we resist persists. And that's where freedom is. Freedom is in the non-resistance of anything. And that's what surrender is here for. Surrender is basically saying, let's all practice non-resistance to whatever the things are. Whatever the things are in your life. If there's something in you that you're resisting and it's having a negative influence on you, then the surrender energy, the surrender card here, the advice is don't resist. Let's operate from a point of non-resistance. One more card, please. And I could talk, I don't know, I feel like I could talk about that card for maybe 2 hours. And I've had to learn that lesson myself. That was a major lesson for me. But once you get it, you get it. And that's the beauty of all of this. Once you have one good, solid experience with it, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Now I understand why this non-resistance stuff that people have been telling me about, why it's a real thing. Because now it's just not an idea or a thought or something that I picked up from some guru or some spiritual person who talked about it, or maybe multiple people who talked about it. I've actually had an experience with it myself. And so now I can say, as a result of having that experience and participating and practicing it and getting the benefits of it, that it works. All right, so our last card is purification. And so these three cards really are kind of all part of one collective, or part of one message here. They're all making a statement here. So we start with self-love, right? And like I said, it's not self-love if it probably doesn't, confront some type of fear that's making it difficult for us to love ourselves. So that's where we started here. And then we moved over to surrender, which is in order for us to love ourselves and to benefit from self-love by confronting the things that are preventing us from loving ourselves, we need to operate from a place of surrender, aka non-resistance to those things. So the more non-resistance we have to the things that have been standing in the way of us loving ourselves, well, now that we're no longer in resistance to those things, guess what we can start to do? We can start to experience freedom, and we can start actually experiencing what self-love actually feels like, not just what the idea of it, what we think it would be like, because we're just thinking about it instead of actually doing it and experiencing it, which leads us to purification, right? And so once we understand the importance of this, because we want to have an experience with it, because we're going to take it seriously, then the result of that is a renewal of a part of us that we have not yet become. So there's a version of you, a better version of you and me and all of us that we have not become as a result of doing the thing that the divine has told us right here, down here to do, which is basically to confront the things that are standing in the way of us from loving ourselves, not being in resistance to those things anymore. So now that we're no longer in resistance to it, it's a paradox. They don't have power over us. See, the illusion is that if we resist it, then we are rejecting its hold and power over us. Because that's the way the brain, the mind thinks. The mind thinks in terms of competition. Like, well, we have to reject this. We have to fight against it. Otherwise, it will overtake us. But the divine knows the paradox. The divine knows actually it's the other way around. It's when you surrender, when you release the resistance to that thing that isn't even real to begin with. That's the irony of it. It's just an illusion to begin with. If the fear that we have is just the illusion, it's not even real. Fear, false evidence appearing real. But, it's real. It's as real as we feel that it's real while we're in it. But once we confront it and release resistance to it, and we're like, hey, you know what? I'm not resisting you anymore. I'm not going to resist you anymore. And you allow the experience of however your body needs to purge, by allowing the non-resistance of that experience to flow through your humanity, you heal, you're purified, the purification. And on the other side of that purification is a version of you that you didn't know that you could become, because it was suppressed by whatever that thing was that was standing in between you and you loving yourself or realizing that new, better version of yourself, because you were resisting it. See, that's how all this stuff works. Okay. So February really has a lot to do. So if I was to take the February newsletter, the part 1 video, and I was to take this part 2 video, and I was to just kind of merge these two videos together and summarize it all, I would say that essentially February is about preparation. The divine is wanting those of you, again, there's two groups of people. This could be potentially the best year of your life. This could be potentially the worst year of your life. And the determining factor of which group you fall in is your choice. That's it. That's all that matters. For those who, just keep doing the same old thing and, just living your life idly and, you're not taking your spiritual development, your personal growth seriously and all that, then you're probably going to kind of drift into the group of people where this may be one of the worst years of your life. But if you're intentional and you're hungry and you're desperate and you're taking your personal development, your spiritual development seriously, then you're going to obviously end up over here in the very small group of people where this is going to be the best year of your life. And so February is the prep. We're preparing for the race or the marathon that is 2025, so to speak. Like we're getting ready for 2025. I know technically our calendar says it's 2025 already. That's what the calendar says. But it doesn't matter what the calendar says. What matters is what the divine says. And so February is all about us getting ready. And as we step into March, March is like really the beginning. When we step into March, we get into Pisces season, then we'll be actually beginning 2025. And so February is us really preparing for the rest of the year. And that's why these messages are coming through to us right now. So I hope all this makes sense. I know this is a lot between the first video and the second video. But I'm just here to serve. I'm here to just do my part. Take what resonates, leave the rest behind. If you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to the channel. Come join me for a free live tarot reading. That's where most of the magic of this channel happens, honestly. We have an amazing community of people that show up. We have an awesome time. I usually go for a very long time. And I assure you that it's worth your time and it's worth your investment to come out if you can make it. What else? Everything else should be in the description box. If you would like to book a personal or private reading, that information is there as well. I highly recommend, if you feel stuck, if you feel lost, if you need specific guidance for your life, that is, customized and detailed for just you, your experience, and whatever's going on specifically for you and your situation. It's not a collective reading or anything like that. Book a personal and private reading, and you would be surprised how much value you can get, how much information the divine can, how much information come through in a message. The very reason that I'm out here on YouTube land is because back in 2021, years ago, January 2021, somebody talked me into getting a tarot reading, and I was very skeptical. I came from a very religious background. I was taught that tarot and all that stuff was demonic and evil. And I'm just I'm a healthy skeptic as it is. And so I wasn't sure, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to, I don't know how I feel about this, but I decided to give it a try. I knew I had nothing to lose. And, the small amount of money that I invested to get the reading, if it turned out to be a dud or if it was, complete bullshit, I was like, well, whatever, I'll just be out the money that I paid for it. And that reading changed my life. It absolutely changed my life. And not only did it change my life, I became extremely close friends with the person that did the reading for me. So it's like sometimes you just don't know what can happen. You have no idea what's waiting on the other side of what seems sometimes like insignificant or small steps. Going back to this believing in the impossible. Sometimes it's just the little things that we do, right? Faith of a mustard seed, belief of a mustard seed, the action of a mustard seed, whatever tiny little thing that you can do, doesn't matter. You'd be surprised what can happen just by doing whatever that thing is that you feel led or guided to when you're trusting in the divine. Okay. So hopefully this all made sense. I feel like I've gone on enough here, so I'm going to shut up. I know this was a very long reading, but hopefully this made sense. Check out the description box if you'd like to book a personal private reading. Come join us for a free live tarot reading, and love and light. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. All the other information is in the description box below. And as always, my friends,
I'm not a bloody psychic.